Welcome to ChinnyVision. It's nearly Christmas, and Christmas means annuals. It's currently the first week in December, but you're going to be watching this a little bit after that. It's that time of year when you buy annuals. Even back in the day, it was your Buster annual, your Whizzer and Chips annual, Whoopee annual. Whoopee annual still came out after the magazine or the comic had shut down, didn't they? And all those Fleetwood publications didn't really care for Beano and Dandy, if the truth be known. But there's other types of annuals as well, TV shows, and this type, the 8-Bit Annual 2018. It covers everything that's happened on the 8-bit scene in 2018, and it's available now. It was Kickstarter, raised about 10,000 euros, I think, and unlike 10,462 euros over a 6,000 euro goal. 229 people backed it, and it's got an advantage over most crowdfunding things where it's actually, look, it exists. Look, Vega people, look, it's physically here. It exists. I can touch it. It's not gonna, and it's not gonna burst into flames either if I touch it. Look, I can see it works. It does everything it's supposed to do, and that's a massive plus point. If you didn't fund this on Kickstarter, not one of the 229 people, don't worry. You can order this online. URL below in the description. It is 30 euros for the softback or 40 euros for the hardback version. And there's 200 pages in here, and that does sound quite a lot compared to your comic book annuals. But printing is incredibly expensive, and they have 200 pages here. But what's 200 pages if it's no good inside? So let's have a look. By the way as well, and I can't find... there we go. And by the way as well, and I've just found it, you get... Or I got... They might be trying to bribe me, I don't know. I think everyone gets one of these, those. I thought this was a can opener, but it's actually a USB stick. I put the capacity on screen because I wanted to show it still in its wrapper. But it says 8-bit Annual on it there. So you put it on your key ring and you carry a USB stick around with you. That's nice. I wonder what the capacity is. I will put it on the screen. So, the book... Well, let's open it up, shall we? There we go. Nice white page. And it's first published 2018. This year's, and that's the full contents there. So we got reviews for the Atari 2600, Atari 8-bit Sega systems. It doesn't say Sega Mega Drive or Master System. I assume it's both. Nintendo reviews, Commodore 64, big old chunk of stuff there, big old chunk of CPC stuff, slightly smaller chunk of Spectrum stuff, MSX reviews, BBC Micro reviews. It'll be interesting to see what games are featured. It's probably not going to get games like Rodman in there. I'd hope Cheese and Onion for the VIC-20 is in there. Although that said, I can't actually see any VIC-20 coverage. John Kavanagh is the guy behind the campaign, the guy who sent me the copy of this book, and he's the other editor of the book is George Batchelor. And the cover artwork is by Lobo. And we've got many different writers in here, people who've contributed. Some of them I recognise are Darren Borg, been on his wonderful podcast, CPC Forever, other people on there. Cameron Dorr rings a bell, don't know if that's might be someone else I'm thinking of. Okay, perhaps not that many of... Oh, Merman is on there as well. Don't think he watches the channel, but I know of him from his C64 exploits. And we've got interviews as well, and it makes the point that all the reviews are in their own words, which we'll come to, because as you'll see from some of these names, potentially English isn't going to be the first language for some of these people. And they've got awards as well, 85% Fab, 90% Mega, and 95% to 100. Always a concern when awarding percentage points, of course, when you've got different reviewers, if everyone's working off the same baseline. Magazines like Amiga Power were pretty solid in how they awarded marks. Some magazines through the years varied. Your Sinclair at some points were very solid, other points were very inconsistent. Be interesting to see how they handle that. Adverts for various things as well, because of course they've still got to fund bits in here, although the chances of me going to Canada's Video Game Museum are slim. We open up with a wonderful tribute that I have read all the way through to Bob Wakelin. And yeah, I mean, entirely appropriate and the best way to open any review of the year, because he sadly passed away, of course. All that wonderful artwork. They've got nice examples in here of his artwork. Unfortunately, some of them a little bit JPEG-y, especially this one here, When Time Stood Still. Shame they didn't swap that for Renegade really there, because it's just suffering. I know it's difficult to source this stuff, but yeah, it's a shame really, because Renegade looks very clean there, and Where Time Stood Still is a bit kind of messy on a full screen. It's a problem Retro Gamer used to have back in the start, when they used to publish covers and things in the magazine. They just source them from online, and yeah, you've got the quality you've got really, and you need to be really spot on with resolution and stuff when you're doing this kind of thing, because print seems to show these things up. You've got all these wonderful covers, Cabal there, Operation Wolf, Chase HQ, Midnight Resistance, Rainbow Island. I think one of my favourite ones, that one. I think I prefer it to the arcade. And then we go on, and oh dear. And then we go on to the Spectrum next. Another big story from the year. And that's all covered with the games that are coming out on it. Nice article, very appropriate for this year as well, about women in coding. These guys seem quite young to be programming 8-bit games, but that's exactly what they're doing. Fascinating read. And look, I'm not going to give you all of this to read just by looking at it on the screen here. You do get a nice good bookmark. And I went, oh great, it's a CPC bookmark, and then flipped over the other side and went, oh dear. But if you're a C64 fan, you'll appreciate that side. If you're a CPC fan, you will appreciate that side. And you put your bookmark in there. Nice touch. I really like that, having a bookmark in there. And we are now into the reviews, which take up a huge section of the book. I mean, that's all Commodore 64 stuff. Way the Exploding Fist for the Atari 8-bit, which they give it 79%, which is a bit odd, considering this is a port of the C16 version for the Atari 8-bit. Why not port the C64 version? I was going to include this in the Way the Exploding Fist review that you may or may not have seen, but it's a remake, and it's not a terribly good remake. 79% seems way too generous for a port of a 16K game onto a 64K micro. Yes, fine on the C16, but on the Atari 8-bits, they're going to be expecting more. And this is somewhat of a hallmark of the reviews, that I think they sometimes go a little bit easy on some of the games I'm familiar with. I've got a nice Sega Master System round up there as well, some of the games. And so we go into all the reviews. Huge C64 section, which is just going to get that for you there. That's all C64 stuff. More than that, in fact. That's all C64 stuff. I don't know what that system is. There to there. Then you go on to your CPC stuff. There. And some reviews here. And the good thing about this is that games in here you won't have heard of. This one I hadn't heard of. Chucky B. Mass 2 Confrontation. And that gets 94%. Looks brilliant on the CPC. No idea. Know nothing about it at all. And this is where this book comes into its strength. Forget some of the scores, because I think they're a little bit variable in how they're scoring. Where this book comes into its own is highlighting games that you're going to want to play. I mean, it's given this one 99%. And El Terreso Periodico di something. The Lost Treasure of... Still can't say that and can't see it. I'm over here. It's difficult to read text there. I can see from about there. But again, a game I haven't heard of again. And this is, whether it's actually worth 99% or not. Is that really in the top 1% of CPC games? If it was, I might have heard of it. But I'm so busy with ChinnyVision these days, I'm not very good at catching up with people. I always feel guilty that I'm on CPC Week and it looks like I'm just there to plug the channel. But lads, I am lurking. I'm pretty much on certainly, if not every day, when I'm out and about every other day, I'm reading stuff on. I just don't get time to post. But I haven't heard that game. A lot of these games will be from the CPC Gaming coding competition as well. But again, quite a few games here that I haven't heard of. Some of them to try out. And I've think of that version of Frogger 39. Bare Essentials, again, an advert for the game. I'd love to play that on the C64. Haven't gotten around to it, hearing good things about it. But I haven't had a chance to play it. Lots of nice games, nice big CPC section, so many games I haven't heard of, and really well done. We go on to the Spectrum section. Again, quite a few games I haven't heard of. What I have noticed with some of this is some of the latest games aren't in here. Another feature with 8-bit games are either that I can see, and that's probably due to print deadlines and stuff like that, but also when you've got people, again, that are picking the games to review, it's going to be self-selecting. So unlike the old days where you had a magazine where everyone sent in their reviews to the magazine, Ocean sent all their games in, US Gold sent all their games in, then the editor decided what was going on. What happens now with this is I suspect all these reviews are self-selecting by the people who write the reviews. The review styles are variable. They're amateurs. So although some of them, like Merman, have written professionally and the standard there is much higher, there is an issue with sometimes English being a second language, which is, I'm not trying to be unkind. I'm saying that if you're expecting the kind of consistency, again, that you had in Amiga Power, Amstrad Action, your Sinclair, or what have you, where all the reviews read the kind of stuff, they could tell a Stuart Campbell review from a Linda Barker review, from a Jonathan Nash review, they'd all be kind of with one voice. And, as per the disclaimer at the beginning of the magazine, these are all in different voices. So you're going to have to accept that when you get the book. It goes on. You've got more. You've got a lovely selection of MSX stuff as well, by the way. Again, games I haven't heard of. Have heard of Highway Fighter, so we'll move on from there. But haven't heard of Tina's Adventure Island, which gets 67%. Lucky Darts I have heard of. I think it's a paid-for game, which I haven't had it on the channel because you've got to get it in and budgets and all the rest of it for the channel. All very nice indeed. The print quality is lovely. I was complaining about some of those Bob Wakelin covers being enlarged and not looking too good. When you get into the proper quality stuff, the reproduced stuff, it all looks fantastic. It's really well finished. And it's a hard thing to do, having done ChinnyVision calendars, getting computer screenshots from RGB into CMYK and having them look sensible is not easy. And they've got 200 plus, they've got 250 pages to check this stuff. And there's no obvious kind of colour quality issues. I mean, obviously some of the blues are going to shift. That kind of colour there shifts slightly. CPC blue shifts slightly. We know that you can't avoid it, but they seem to have minimised any kind of problems. A nice section from the BBC Micro, White Light being reviewed there. Great shoot 'em up. I think 80% is pretty much spot on. In fact, possibly they're saying there nothing new for a vertical shooter. Excuse me, this is BBC Micro. We're kind of on a different scale. 80% probably about right, but I'm not going to complain. There's nothing new here because you're looking at what's on the platform. You're not competing against C64 games. You're competing against other BBC Micro games. And White Light is pretty good. And there's nice little bits and pieces as well with programmers, with his DeLorean there again, low-res photo there. It's a shame because, as I say, they've got the print quality so nailed on for the bits where they've got high quality, and sometimes it just kind of looks a bit bitty. Ooh, CPC. Yeah, and I'm keeping this all in one shot so you can't kind of zoom in and copy the pages. Loads of good. This book's really good for CPC stuff as well. Lots of lovely CPC reviews. Potentially a little bit weaker on the Spectrum stuff. Loads of C64 stuff, and good on MSX as well. And we're going to go through to the back and the kind of few ZX Renew, who I got my membrane from. Good people there, adverts. Good to see people supporting the book as well. And that is the 8-Bit Annual 2018. And I think the big strength of this book is that you're going to discover new games with it. I can't think of any resources online. Well, there are resources online, but they're not convenient for scrolling through with all the new games. This is a well collated list of new games you can check out. Even just the list there gives you a whole load of stuff. That's really good. You've got 250 pages. The print quality when it's original artwork is absolutely brilliant. Some of those JPEG images do let the side down a little bit. Sometimes completely unavoidable. Sometimes, could have been high quality. It's very difficult to judge print as well. Sometimes when things look okay on a screen, they don't look as good when they're printed out. Again, ChinnyVision calendars last year, I went through 3 sets of proofs. Imagine going through 3 sets of proofs with 250 pages. That's quite a job. And just collating this stuff, it's a huge job. Absolutely massive. 250 pages, and then laying that out. There's all those words in there. £40 for the hard, or €40, which roughly equates to £40 for the full hardback version. Yeah, it's a lot of money for a book, but it's a low print run, and printing is expensive, as I well know. You're going to make a decision if you want softback or the hardback. URLs for that are below. I think this is a fantastic way to discover a whole new load of games that you can play on your 8-bits. My only gripes are the VIC-20 owners seem to be very hard done by. There's no coverage from them that I can see. Shame, because they've had Cheese and Onion and all those brilliant new games this year. But certainly if you're a CPC or Spectrum or C64 owner, certainly for the CPC and C64, you've got a stunning amount of coverage in here with games that, as a fairly devout CPC owner, sometimes I feel I'm not up in things as I should be, but a whole load of games I certainly hadn't heard of that I want to check out. And for that alone, and all the reading material in here, even if some of it is a little bit variable, I think it's probably worth putting on your Christmas list.